Hey folks, Vertical Stacker, and I've got a question for you. What is it about gold, precious metals, that attracts us to it so much? I've got a few ideas. So as I've been thinking about gold and silver and these precious metals that many of us in this community have been collecting or stacking for 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, whatever it is, what is it about gold that keeps us in this whiplash loop of getting up every day, going to the Kitco app and checking out the price today? Sometimes twice a day, sometimes 5 times a day. I see you do it. I see your posts on Instagram, or I see your content that talks about it on a Sunday night or whatever. So I'm guilty of it, right? I get up and one of the first things I do in the morning is I look at my app and I see what the markets are doing, commodities markets, stock markets, so forth, and I also look at the price of gold and silver. It's interesting, isn't it, that we have such an attraction to the gold. And I think there's, some guttural, almost Neanderthal type issues to explore as to why it is that we feel the way we do about gold. Now, for some of you, it's probably simply, well, it's a hedge against inflation. And whether that's true or not, I'll leave that up to your analysis. But certainly gold has some kind of a value, and that value, in my mind anyway, is all part of a larger social construct, because this in and of itself really isn't worth anything unless society places a value on it. Would you agree with that? If you agree with that, let me know in the comments. If you disagree with that, tell me why. That's just my opinion. It's just my thought process. Just like anything else, really. Everything that we have, whether it's a vehicle or a hunk of gold or a loaf of bread, there's value attached to that because as a society, we say there is, right? Well, think about that. Why do we have that mindset? Why do we have the mindset that collecting or stacking these shiny pieces of gold and silver is somehow going to be beneficial to us? Take away all of the financial and economic indicators and things like that there's so much content about on YouTube right now. I want to just talk for a few minutes about something a lot more basic, and that is, for thousands and thousands of years, dating back millennia, truthfully, gold has always been part of our social construct, and not always as money, right? It may have been as status, which some might, equivocate with money, or maybe the equivalent of prosperity. But you look back to, the first indications, for example, of gold that had been worked out of the ground and then worked into some sort of an ornamental thing. I think it was in modern-day Bulgaria. You look at the graves of Varna, for example, if you do some research there, and you can see that gold has been both an above ground and a below ground important metal. Rulers, the ruling class, right? Whether it's in Egypt or Greece or some other part of the world, the Mayas, the Incas, you look at how gold played such a central role in their culture and in their society. And more often than not, you had the ruling class, right, the upper echelons of society. Them that made the rules are the ones that possessed the gold. They wore it on their bodies. They used it as gifts, right? And that was a status thing. I'm going to give this, person over here from this group a bunch of gold, and that shows not only my status as the gold giver, but the recipient status as the gold receiver. Nobody, no pharaoh, no king, no ruler was going to give a large amount of gold or precious metal to a peasant. It's just not the way the world works. And so gold has just been part of our social construct for so long that I think we retain that sense, that feeling that when we hold this in our hand, when we possess this stuff, we're part of the ruling class. Do you feel that way? Do you feel that way just a little bit? Be honest, because I do. I would be remiss and I would be, flat out dishonest to say that, oh, I'm doing this for an investment, or I'm doing this as a hedge against inflation, or whatever, gab you want to talk about. I do this in large part because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right. For thousands of years, the ruling class, the haves versus the have-nots. Now, that might sound somewhat elitist to you, and I'm sorry if that's the way it comes across. That's not really what I mean, but throughout history, don't we always see the lower classes in society aspiring, dreaming, desiring, fantasizing about becoming part of the upper class or part of the ruling class? If we're going to be honest with ourselves, of course we do. Why do we watch and put up with and tolerate Hollywood today? They are the elites, right? They have television things dedicated to these people. Entertainment Tonight, if you ever watch that, it is by and large a show to display the wealth and the power of the elites. Okay? Is that fair? I think it's fair. And so oftentimes, I think one of the reasons, whether we admit it or not, that we stack this shiny stuff, this heavy, heavy stuff, is because we aspire. We want to feel like we're part of that upper class. Now, this is going to take a lot of humility, I think, to make this not only recognition, but admission. And so I'm curious if there are some in this community who will be willing to do that. Social history, social construct. Why do we do what we do with gold? Is it really rhetorical, or is there some more deep-seated meaning behind it? Look, there are people who are the upper echelons of society today that obviously stack and hoard gold. Most of us aren't there. Most of us aren't in that class. But we nevertheless stack this stuff. We collect this stuff because it makes us feel like, in my opinion, it makes us feel like we are part of that upper echelon of society. It does to me. It doesn't make me look down on others. It doesn't make me greedy. It doesn't make me anything other than who I am. And I will tell you that having gold, having precious metals, having that feeling of being part of the upper echelons of society because of the wealth, the perceived wealth from this social construct that I've built over the years, only makes me a more generous person, because I want to bring others along with me. I want everyone to have gold. I want everyone to have silver. I want everyone to feel the way that I do, because it feels good to be successful. It feels good to stack gold. Are you with me? Does it make sense, this social construct idea? The fact that for thousands of years we've basically been doing this as a society, stacking gold in some form or another. Maybe it's to stack it to give it away as a gift. Maybe it's to stack it to send to another feudal type group across the valley so that they'll be with us when these other groups come to attack us. I mean, it's an interesting thought, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I love this stuff. It makes me feel good, and maybe I've kind of put myself out there a little much, and I'm sure there's going to be some that are going to interpret this as, oh, you're just this arrogant 1%er, yada, yada, yada. That's not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to get at is just gold, historically, socially, the value. It's just a function, right, of this social significance from a long time ago, right? Gold has always been there. So just some thoughts on a Wednesday. I'm getting kind of redundant with what I'm saying here, but what are your thoughts? Why do you really stack gold? Don't give me the, oh, it's a hedge against inflation. Don't give me the, oh, it's because I like to invest or I use it as a savings account. Maybe that's true, but is there something more? And if so, what is it? Tell me in the comments below, because I'm really curious to know if anybody else kind of feels like me. This stuff just makes me feel good, and it makes me feel a little more successful and a little more in the upper echelons of society. Whereas even if that's not the case, dare to dream. For some reason, we watch Entertainment Tonight as a society, don't we? Now, I'm not saying that you do, I do, whatever, but I've been there, I've seen it, and I just shake my head and go, holy cow. But there's something that draws us to successful people. There's something that draws us to the flashy stuff in Hollywood. What is it? Well, I would submit that it's something that comes from thousands of years of social construct. That's my thoughts, and I'm sticking to it. Vertical Stacker. Till next time.